My name is Leonta Cooper, and today I'm giving you a short video on why I am in full support as a libertarian of cancel culture. Cancel culture. What's the definition of cancel culture? I got it right here for you. So there's different types of cancel culture. There's call-outs, the one that I'm going to be talking about, cancellation, doxing, negative reviews, and revenge. But actual cancel culture, canceling, is the act of canceling, also referred to as cancel culture, describes a form of boycott in which an individual who has shared a questionable or controversial opinion or has had behavior in their past that is perceived to be offensive, recorded on social media, is canceled. They are ostracized and shunned by former friends, followers, and supporters alike, leading to declines in any career and fan base the individual may have at a given time. Now, there's three really important reasons why I support cancel culture as a libertarian, as someone that believes in freedom, as someone that believes that the free market is the best way for us to handle our disputes and our differences. Number one, cancel culture is the freest way to take action whenever there is a dispute in society. Cancel culture allows people to use the free market in a way that allows not tyranny. If the government were to pass a law, that would be tyranny because it would be an indefinite no. Someone cannot say something. But cancel culture allows people to have social pressure to conform to things in society that cause us to be able to live together. Certain social rules or social norms. Number two, it is a sign that the market is working. The market's job is to respond to the people it serves. That is the job of a free market, to make sure that it serves the customer and serves the customer well. Different markets don't want bad things to be coming out about them. Different industries don't want bad things to be coming out about them. They don't want a bad reputation, and they're going to monitor what is good about society and what is bad about society and what overall gets them the most benefits for the most people. Does that make sense? So a market will look and say, well, if we come out in support of this opinion, then we may lose all of this following, or we may look bad to the press, or we may look bad to people, to society. So we're going to come out in favor of the way that society is going. Or they may say, we're going to stay out of politics altogether. Depends. But the attempt to use cancel culture is the best way it's better for markets to determine the way that society should follow and to make social rules for that. For the boss to say, well, if my employees are found saying something racist or something sexist or something homophobic on their accounts or in our workplace, then there's going to be repercussions for that as far as being fired. That person won't lose their freedom, but they will be fired. There will be social repercussions for that. Number three, it typically works. Cancel culture is nothing new. And I'm going to go back and let you know that it first started in the civil rights when Martin Luther King and different civil rights activists would boycott different industries that would enforce segregation. It might be a little bit different with regard to the Montgomery bus boycotts because the bus was a public institution, but you can still kind of apply the same principle. If this institution is going to allow racism, we're going to boycott. And sometimes when it comes to cancel culture today, instead of it being institutions, it oftentimes is individuals. So the last thing that I'm going to mention about this, why it's a good thing, is because in a diverse society where people have not fully embraced the idea of multiculturalism, you're going to have something called conflict. And conflict is something that can be resolved in a couple different ways. It can be resolved by ignoring it, which some people are not willing to do. It can be resolved by political means, which results in things like hate speech, which are in Europe, but in the United States, we have the First Amendment that allows us to speak what we want to speak without worrying about the government coming to take our freedom. If we were to involve hate speech, who would decide what is the definition of hate speech and what if it would then become more important what judges use judicial restraint and interpret the law as they see it and as it is actually written, and the actual intention behind the law, and the judges that use judicial activism that try to interpret it as society progresses and kind of give their own idea of what is the right thing to do. That will become more important if we were to turn to the government to do things like hate speech. The next way to deal with it is through violence, and violence is awful. The reason why violence is awful is, one, because people get hurt and people die. Human life is lost, and that's a tragedy. Two, because it ruins the entire prosperity of a country. If you look at Syria, a country that has diversity but has not embraced multiculturalism, is very, very behind on that spectrum. You see a lot of interfighting between the different cultures and the different ethnic groups. So it prohibits them from achieving prosperity. It makes shortages in food, dependence on aid, less autonomy, individual autonomy, etc., etc., etc. So violence is not a good means. And then the last one is the means of the market. And I support the means of the market. And I am not the only one who spoke about this. Someone else who talked about this that I'd like to say what he said. Milton Friedman, the wonderful libertarian economist, said, "The use of political channels, while inevitable, tends to strain the social cohesion essential for a stable society." And he talked about how we should rely as much as possible on the market mechanism. So, as a libertarian, as someone that believes in the principle of freedom and free markets, I am in full support of cancel culture. I think it's the most effective way for a society and a democracy to retain its freedom and still be able to handle conflict and give consequences for differences and things that are bad.